Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everyone jumping on and excited to see so many familiar faces in the audience. So that's great to see. Yeah, I just want to chat briefly and kind of talk a little bit about ChatGPT. Is it worth the hype, and what impact I see that it's going to have on the industry? I think it's probably unsurprising to most of you that as a pretty kind of tech-focused, tech-first person, I'm a big believer in what AI is going to do. So I'm sure my thoughts are not going to align with everybody. So just going to preface that, but hopefully it's going to stimulate some really interesting debate. So unless you've been kind of living under a rock for the last few months, you kind of missed ChatGPT has been released and the impact that it's had. I think if I had $1 for every LinkedIn post I'd seen about ChatGPT, I would certainly be retiring pretty quickly. So it seems that it's something everyone wants to talk about. But essentially what you've got with ChatGPT is this ability to ask questions and get very, very good responses, typically from this engine about a wide range of subjects. So essentially, whatever you're looking to find out, you can ask, whether it's how to explain something in simple terms, how to brainstorm ideas. It's just like the perfect personal assistant. And as never before has a product become so rapidly part of my everyday life. So in terms of just how smart ChatGPT is, it beat 90% of lawyers trying to pass the bar exam. And it also passed the MBA kind of entry exam as well. So one thing's for sure is ChatGPT is definitely smarter than I am. But I know there's a lot of sharp folks on this call, so maybe that's not true for everybody. But just an incredibly powerful resource. I think what's been most amazing about ChatGPT is the adoption curve. You look at some of these things, Uber, Spotify, Instagram, generational companies really, and how long they took to get to 100 million users. Instagram, 30 months, Spotify, 55. ChatGPT got to 100 million users in just under 2 months. So this is really a generational step change, in the same way the iPhone was, in the same way the internet was. That's how big I believe this to be. Some of you who've experimented with ChatGPT, probably when it first came out, tried ChatGPT 3.5, which was essentially the kind of 5th iteration of the ChatGPT 3. And you would have seen recently that ChatGPT 4 launched. To give you an idea of context in terms of the amount of data points going into this, that is the difference in terms of the size of that large language model for ChatGPT 4. So just an incredible advancement. It is a little bit slower right now, and they're still limiting it even for paid users, but just a big thing. So for those of you who don't monetize, haven't kind of got the pro account, they're monetizing in a couple of different ways. So they have a subscription plan. It's $20 a month. Honestly, if you value your own time and you can't get $20 worth of value out of ChatGPT, probably give up. It is the best return on investment I think you can make with your time. It gives you faster response times. It means it isn't down all the time, and it's a really cool thing. They do have a free tier. They're going to continue offer that free tier, so it is available to everybody. It's just slower and was definitely pretty unreliable. Their bigger play is obviously with the API model. I think one thing that's really relevant here is that when you upload data through the API model, that data is essentially private and not being pushed into their kind of main learning corpus. Anyone who's dropping information just drops straight into ChatGPT. That information is going straight into their full learning engine. So you've obviously seen a whole bunch of news stories around people dropping proprietary information into the ChatGPT chat interface and potential problems there. So definitely something to consider. And if you do want anything proprietary, obviously that's where you need to start using your own models. And if you think about what ChatGPT has given us, it's given us this engine, but everybody has access to it. How the companies will really kind of take that into something that's even bigger is by adding their own data that potentially only they have access to and combining it with the power of ChatGPT. So obviously I asked ChatGPT a few ways that MRxPros could use the tool. I'm going to be sharing this deck later, so I want to move quite quick so we can get to discussion, but there's lots of different kind of key focuses, whether it's around ideation, data analysis, marketing comms, sentiment, in-depth qual. You're even starting to see people develop kind of synthetic qualitative panels at this point, where essentially these personas can be asked questions and essentially full-blown bot-to-bot conversations can happen. So where I think for me, I think it really falls down to is, are you a doer or are you a thinker? And if you're a doer, my personal view, and this is just a personal view, no one needs to agree with me, is that like times are going to be tough if you're a doer. So what kind of things are doers doing that AI is going to replace? Data collection, cleaning, coding qualitative data, statistical analysis, translation, writing reports manually, survey design and programming. Now, a lot of this is the bread and butter of our industry, but I can assure you there are many, many people focused on building companies that are, are able to function with 20, 30% of the headcount of existing companies and stripping out as much of this as possible. And you may think this is like far-fetched sci-fi, it's a million miles from where it is, but I can assure you this is months and years in single digits away, not kind of some kind of light odyssey. Where I think people need to focus is what are the things where AI isn't very good at? And that's things like critical thinking. It's things like hypothesis generation. It's having that grasp of context and being able to kind of fill that context, stakeholder communication, being able to tell a great story. These are all traits of researchers, in my opinion, and MRxPros, where it's going to take a long, long time for AI to catch up and be able to kind of focus in on this area. So I guess my message is don't be this guy. This is Mike. He ran an architectural design company in the 90s. He didn't embrace CAD, and he's still happily drawing his pictures, taking 50 hours to do something that the computer can do in just a couple. So I would implore you, if you haven't already, you need to be diving into AI technology and figuring out where it can be working in your business. And as the late Steve Jobs famously said, kind of one more thing, I just want to kind of add this before I open it up for everyone to kind of chat through. So ChatGPT obviously changed the world pretty quickly. Essentially, you put in a prompt, it comes back with a response. You then, based on that response, ask it something else and you dig deeper. It is essentially a human to machine. About 12 days ago, AutoGPT came out, which essentially allows you to request exactly what you need. And the bot will essentially interact with itself and work that through. So it is essentially able to, this is only available as a kind of more of a developer tool right now, but it won't be long until someone puts a full front end interface on it. So this person asked to build a Tetris app in React. The bot will have gone through, created everything, wrote all the programming, provisioned a server on AWS, used a generative AI tool to create all the assets for the game. And instantly, this has built a Tetris game in literally in less than half an hour. Something that would have taken, we're seeing things that would have taken hours, days, weeks, now be done in minutes. The real difference between AutoGPT and ChatGPT is it has internet access. So it can go through, and you could say, go through, book me a 3-day wine tour of Napa, pick great hotels with facilities for the kids, and it will be able to do the whole thing and book everything for you, create that schedule, give you recommendations. This is a massive breakthrough, in my opinion, in terms of like how we'll see the chatbot to chatbot stuff kind of essentially stringing these tasks together. So you can see this tweet here at the bottom. Essentially, AutoGPT created the app for me, recognized that they didn't have certain software on the thing. It Googled how to install, it found an article, downloaded it, extracted it. This person just watched the whole thing. They just said, set up my machine to do this. And this is, if it can do complex things like build computer games, it can definitely do some of the more basic things that we focus our time on in our industry. A couple of resources for you that I'd really recommend. One is a website called There's an AI for That. There's 3,300 currently on there. These are coming out every single day. A lot of them are duplicative or doing the same things, but there's a huge amount of technology. I would advise jumping in there, playing around with some stuff. And for those of you who haven't read Prompt for Brands, this is by a guy called David Boyle, who I think is one of the organizers of the TMRE conference, but a fantastic resource for anyone looking to kind of get the beak wet and get started with kind of ChatGPT, a whole bunch of prompts around personas and using it and kind of fixing there. So I know we're short on time. Apologies, I'm going fast, but there's a lot to cover. I'm super excited about this topic, and this is what we want to leave as a discussion.